They call me Squirrel.
Whoa, what's going on, Squirrel Squad? It's your boy, the Squirrel. I'm back over here on the other side of Squirrel. This was the video I talked about in the Rammstein video. This is the most successful band member replacements ever. I thought over on a music reaction channel this might work out pretty well. I want to check this out and see what the opinion is and what the most successful band member replacements are ever. I'm just going to keep going like that didn't happen. Anyway, if it's your first time here, we do a lot of music reactions over here, and we're gonna dig into some replacements right now. I just did the most fucked up music video I've ever seen a minute ago, so you can check that out if you want. This is the Rammstein Deutschland. I don't even know. That was thanks, Levi, prick. Anyway, here we go. This is the most successful band member replacements ever. Oh boy, get your list together. Pause the video, get your list together, and see if they're on here. Let's see.
For better or worse, rock music is as much an industry as an art form. It's surprising how many hugely popular bands wind up replacing members to keep the music going. These are the best band member replacements ever. Tortured Seattle native Lane Staley might have one of the most hauntingly beautiful voices to come out of the 90s. Sadly, the Alice in Chains frontman died from an overdose in 2002. Adding to the tragic legacy of grunge stars who suffered early deaths. Still, the remaining members of Alice in Chains soldiered on. Guitarist and songwriter Jerry Cantrell stepped into the role of bandleader and invited his longtime friend and Comes With the Fall vocalist William Duvall to split lead vocals. Duvall immediately felt the pressure from the role he was filling, but the band took the change in stride.
And as you do that night after night, you develop this organic chemistry of your own, and it kind of becomes its own thing.
Cantrell has stated that while replacing Staley was a risk for both Duvall and the remaining members of Alice in Chains, Duvall has repeatedly proven to be the right man for the job. His vocal contributions to the band's 2009 album, Black Gives Way to Blue, showcase how successfully Duvall integrated into the new lineup. New York's makeup-covered quartet Kiss is responsible for many rock radio staples, including Rock and Roll All Night.
I want to comment on that real quick. That guy, I'm not familiar with him per se, but that guy's got an awesome radio voice. I'd imagine his singing sounds great, but it's
Love Gun, Detroit Rock City, and I Was Made for Loving You. The group was a massive act in the latter half of the 1970s, but there were signs of wear and tear by the end of the decade. While there are conflicting reports about why drummer Peter Criss left the band, it seems that he felt the burnout more than his bandmates. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, Criss says he retired his Catman stage persona in 1980. However, co-frontmen Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley maintain that he was actually fired. Whether or not Criss left the band voluntarily, his departure led to Eric Carr taking over drum duties just a few months later. Dubbed the Fox, Carr and his thunderous drumming would spend the rest of the decade anchoring Kiss's sound as the group navigated a shifting musical landscape. He contributed to some of the band's most popular tunes, like Lick It Up, Heaven's on Fire, and Crazy Nights. Tragically, Carr died of cancer in 1991 at just 41 years old. His loss is still felt by his bandmates and the entire Kiss fandom to this day. British punk rock band...
That's 31 years ago. Wow. God, Kiss around. Legendary. Kiss is legendary. I know some of their songs, the popular ones from the radio. I never got into the band. I got friends that paint themselves up every chance they get and go to the concerts, and they follow every move. And they know the names of the guys in the band and all that. I know Gene Simmons. That's all I know. But great band.
The Sex Pistols were known for their riotous onstage antics and the aggressively anti-establishment message they peddled through their music. According to Diffuser, bassist Glenn Matlock was not enthused about the media attention the out-of-control punks were getting and had left the group by autumn 1977. This left the Pistols without a songwriter. The group's only album, Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, a landmark release for punk, had come out mere months earlier. Luckily, the band's reputation for chaos and rebellion had been thoroughly established, so there wasn't a pressing need to release new music.
But it seemed like there was no future unless we tried to do something about ourselves. We weren't delighting in it. We were trying to say, well, you've got to kick up a fuss.
Shortly after Matlock's departure, the Sex Pistols hired Sid Vicious to replace him. While his playing wasn't up to par, Vicious was never hired for his musical talent. The Pistols hired him because he had the punk look and attitude down to a T. Vicious was the perfect vessel to convey the Sex Pistols' anarchist ideology. Despite the fact that Vicious could not really play his instrument, and he never actually recorded any music with the band, the punk icon's tragic death in 1979 left a lasting imprint on modern counterculture. It's not easy joining one of the...
That's so weird, huh? Like, that he makes the list of the most successful band member replacements ever, but he sucked at playing. That's weird.
Greatest bands of all time, especially when you're replacing a crucial member. In 1975, Ronnie Wood found himself in this exact position when the Rolling Stones announced he would be replacing Mick Taylor on guitar. In a press release, Mick Jagger told sources the Stones hired Wood for the job because they were confident in his ability to handle the pressure of filling such large shoes.
What are the chances of having two guys named Mick in the same fucking band?
And they were optimistic that he could fill the spot for a long time to come.
I was ill in bed in LA and I got this phone call from Mick. He said, "I'm desperate, will you come and help?" And I said, "Yeah, sure."
Wood, who originally played for the Faces, proved up to the task. In fact, he later claimed he had envisioned himself becoming a member of the Stones for years. In an interview with Underground Classic Rock, he said he had even joked about joining the band with Mick Jagger years before he was even invited. He had to work hard for the spot, but it paid off for him and the band. Over the years, he and Keith Richards have become known as one of the great guitar duos of all time. Although Wood missed the band's earliest recordings, it's hard to imagine the Stones without the pair speaking to each other and the audience through their instruments. Anthony Kiedis has always been the vocalist for California funk rockers Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Flea has grooved on the bass since the band's inception. Will Ferrell lookalike Chad Smith has manned the drum kit since 1988, but the guitarist slot has been filled by no fewer than 7 players throughout the band's history. The band's original axeman, Hillel Slovak, tragically passed away in 1988. Dave Navarro, most famous for his work in Jane's Addiction, also had a brief stint in the Chili Peppers. Josh Klinghoffer contributed guitar live and in studio for most of the 2010s. All were worthy musicians, but for this band, one guitarist stands head and shoulders above the rest. His name is John Frusciante. The band's on-again, off-again virtuoso has played on the 3 most successful Chili Peppers albums to date. The list begins with their 1991 breakthrough release, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which featured hits like Under the Bridge and Give It Away. 1999's Californication, featuring the iconic title track and Scar Tissue. The final piece of the trilogy is 2006's double album, Stadium Arcadium, featuring fan favorites like Danny California, Desecration Smile, and one of the most infamous guitar parts in modern music with Snow Hey-O. In February 2022, Red Hot Chili Peppers announced their first album featuring Frusciante in over 2 decades, titled Unlimited Love. SoCal pop-punk trio Blink-182 spent the 90s making a name for themselves in rock circles. Tom DeLonge and Mark Hoppus's nasally lead vocals set a pop-punk precedent that is still a trademark of the genre today. Drummer Scott Rayner kept a rapid beat on songs like Damn It and Josie from the group's 1997 hit record, Dude Ranch. However, Blink's ascent wouldn't stop after a handful of rock radio hits. They were destined to conquer the world of pop. Sadly, Rayner wasn't the man for the job. There's a bizarre lack of verifiable facts regarding his departure, but Cheat Sheet claims his heavy drinking put him at odds with the other 2 members. Either way, by 1998, Rayner was out. In need of a replacement, Hoppus and DeLonge brought Aquabats drummer Travis Barker into their lineup. Kerrang reports that Barker agreed to fill in for a few dates. He then proceeded to master the songs in an hour flat and knocked the gigs out of the park. By 1999, just in time for the release of the group's breakthrough record, Enema of the State, he was a full-fledged member. Barker, still manning the drums for Blink today, is arguably the most famous member of the band. His unmatchable skills have also made him one of the most in-demand drummers in music, contributing his talents to everyone from Yellow Wolf to Stevie Aoki to Machine Gun Kelly. Rolling Stone even listed him as one of the greatest drummers of all time. As a founding member of
I've never been a big Blink-182 fan. I know a couple of their songs maybe that I've heard on the radio, but I've never it's kind of the same thing with me and Kiss. Like, I know who Kiss is, they're iconic, and I've heard them on the radio, but just never got into them, you know. Rolling Stones, same way, and Blink-182. Blink-182 less than the other two. The other two are like such big iconic bands, but Blink-182 was always just kind of like that take 'em or leave 'em kind of band to me, you know. As far as I'm concerned, they're Nickelback.
Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne helped invent heavy metal. While other bands might have contributed to the genre's style and attitude, Sabbath provided the foundational blueprint that would eventually inspire rock icons like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Pantera, and Slipknot. When Osbourne was fired from the group in the summer of 1979, they had two choices: call it a day or try to replace the Prince of Darkness. They chose the latter option, and it's a good thing they did. Replacement singer Ronnie James Dio breathed new life into the band just in time for the turn of the decade.
Ronnie came over and, God, when he started singing, bloody hell, I couldn't believe what was coming out of his little body, you know.
Heaven and Hell, the first Sabbath album featuring Dio on vocals, went platinum. Fans ended up loving Dio's mighty vocals so much that he later formed another successful band with Black Sabbath bandmates Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi, also called Heaven and Hell. The band lasted from 2006 until Dio's tragic passing from stomach cancer in 2010. Dio's funeral was attended by thousands of fans, and much of heavy metal's royalty also came to pay respect to the beloved little man with the big voice.
Is he also the guy that's saying "Whip It"? Or am I'm totally off, ain't I? I've got to be totally wrong.
With David Lee Roth at the mic and Eddie Van Halen on guitar, Van Halen took the rock world by storm. It all started with their eponymous 1978 debut record, Van Halen. Diamond Dave, leaping and hollering across the stage in bright colors, was one of the most entertaining frontmen ever. For his part, Eddie was one of the most innovative rock guitarists to make the scene since Jimi Hendrix. Despite their combined talent, clashing egos and incompatible creative visions eventually led to Roth's 1985 departure from the group. Undeniably, it was the end of an era. For Van Halen, however, it was also the beginning of something fresh and equally successful. They hired Red Rocker Sammy Hagar to replace Roth. Hagar wasn't quite the showman Roth was, but he was extremely talented in his own right. He could play instruments on stage, and his raw vocal abilities were unmatched. His first album with Van Halen, 5150, was a smash hit, and the success didn't stop there. During the Hagar era, Van Halen had 9 top 40 hits, 2 more than the band achieved with Roth. While fans will always love Roth, they've come to appreciate Hagar as the man who saved the band at its lowest point. In the late 70s, Australian hard rock quintet AC/DC was one of the hardest working
I've met Brian Johnson. He's a cool son of a bitch.
bands in the business. Their simple beats were complemented perfectly by duck-walking, schoolboy uniform-wearing Angus Young's guitar riffs and the raspy vocals of frontman Bon Scott. They were just starting to make a name for themselves when Scott tragically died after a night of binge drinking in February 1980, Ultimate Classic Rock reports. The band mourned the loss of Scott hard, but they didn't hang up their guitars. Instead, months later, they brought in English singer Brian Johnson. Swapping out frontmen is always a risky move, but Johnson was no mere replacement. He and his inimitable voice was the band's ticket to new heights of commercial success. Prior to Scott's death, 1979's Highway to Hell was by far the band's highest charting record, peaking at number 17 on the Billboard charts. 1980's Back in Black, the group's first album with Johnson on vocals, was a blockbuster hit on another level entirely. The title track, You Shook Me All Night Long, and Hell's Bells are still some of the most beloved headbanging tunes in history. Guitar World acknowledges that today, it's the single highest-selling rock record ever. Johnson, now a beloved member of the group, is still bringing down the house with AC/DC today.
So I met him when I lived in Florida. He was a friend of mine who is also a famous rock and roll guy. And I became friends with this guy and taught him how to be a bartender, of all things. Anyway, but Brian Johnson was super, super nice guy.
Di'Anno infused Iron Maiden's British heavy metal sensibilities with the more grounded fury of punk rock, leading to 2 solid early records, Iron Maiden and Killers. While Di'Anno's contribution to Iron Maiden made for an original sound, he had trouble keeping up with the intense instrumental backing his bandmates provided. In an interview with Louder Sound, he said he felt somewhat disingenuous fronting such an epic ensemble, even admitting that he doesn't blame the group for firing him. On October 26, 1981, Di'Anno's replacement, Bruce Dickinson, played his first show with Iron Maiden. Originally known by the stage name Bruce in the band Samson, Dickinson switched his name to something a little less goofy after being hired. From there, he donned some leather and studs, and he proceeded to propel Maiden to dizzying new heights of heavy metal glory with his supreme operatic voice. Rolling Stone listed the first Iron Maiden album to feature Dickinson, 1982's Number of the Beast, as the 4th greatest metal album of all time. There's a reason for that. Songs like the title track and Run to the Hills rank among metal's most beloved tunes, thanks to an untouchable frontman truly worthy of Iron Maiden's enormous vision. Check out one of our newest...
Never questioned Bruce Dickinson. You know, seen that skit from Saturday Night Live, the cowbell skit. Just type in "need more cowbell" and watch it. Another great. I mean, there was some freaking great bands in here. Some of them I didn't even know had replaced people. Iron Maiden. I grew up listening to these guys: Megadeth, Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, King Diamond. Yeah, you know, all the goods. But Maiden was a great band. My buddy had the sickest Iron Maiden back patch on his jean jacket. It had Eddie. He was like in Graveyard, and he was holding, I don't remember what he was holding, like a lantern or something, but Eddie was like their mascot, whatever. Pretty cool. I thought that was really informative. I think that since we're doing the music over here, I thought it was an appropriate piece for all of us to watch together. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my little insights, my 2 cents. And yeah, that's about all I got. That was pretty cool. I'll catch you guys soon on the next reaction. You guys take care of yourselves. Don't forget, Discord server and everything's in the description below, so feel free to go over and join us over there, all right? I'll catch you guys. Be good. Never questioned Bruce Dickinson. Brian Johnson's a kick-ass dude. Be good. Scroll up.